The Slaughterhouse Cases by Marla Chavez. In 1873, the Slaughterhouse Cases were the first United States Supreme Court interpretation of the 14th Amendment. They were viewed as cases in early civil rights law, reading the 14th Amendment as protecting the privileges or immunities. In the 19th century, intestines and portions of putrefied animal matter lodged around drinking pipes coming from local slaughterhouses. Animal entrails such as dung, blood, and urine were a part of the New Orleans drinking water, which caused cholera among the population. Between 1832 and 1869, the city of New Orleans suffered 11 cholera outbreaks. In 1869, the Louisiana legislature passed an act to protect the health of New Orleans, the Crescent City Livestock Landing, and Slaughterhouse Company, a law that allowed New Orleans to create a corporation that centralized all slaughterhouses in the city. The legislature chartered a private corporation, the Crescent City Livestock Landing and Slaughterhouse Company, to run a grand slaughterhouse. All the other slaughterhouses were closed up, making butchers work at the Crescent City. Over 400 butchers joined together to sue to stop Crescent City's takeover of the slaughterhouse industry. Supreme Court Justice Samuel Freeman Miller stated this about the butchers' concern. Quote, "This statute is denounced by the butchers not only as creating a monopoly and conferring odious and exclusive privileges upon a small number of persons at the expense of the great body of the community of New Orleans, but it is asserted that it deprives a large and meritorious class of citizens, the whole of the butchers of the city, of the right to exercise their trade, the business to which they have been trained and on which they depend for support of themselves and their families, and that the unrestricted exercise of the business of butchering is necessary to the daily subsistence of the population of the city." The lower courts found in favor of Crescent City. 6 cases were appealed to the Supreme Courts. The butchers based the claims on due process, privileges or immunities, and equal protection clauses from the 14th Amendment. The butcher's attorney's name was John A. Campbell. He was a former Supreme Court justice. He was involved in many cases in New Orleans that had to do with radical Reconstruction. In a 5-4 decision on April 14, 1873, by Justice Freeman Miller, the court debated that the privileges and immunities affected only rights of the citizenship, not state citizenship. Therefore, the 14th Amendment rights of the butchers had not been violated. This was the verdict by Justice Miller, quote, "We do not conceal from ourselves the great responsibility which this duty devolves upon us. No question so far-reaching and pervading in their consequences, so profoundly interesting to the people of this country and so important in their bearing upon the relations of the United States and of several states to each other, and to the citizens of states and of the United States have been before this court during the official life of any of its present members. We have given every opportunity for a full hearing at the bar. We have discussed it freely and compared views among ourselves. We have taken ample time for a careful deliberation, and we now propose to announce the judgments which we have formed in the construction of those articles, so far as we found them necessary to the decision of the cases before us, and beyond that we have neither the inclination nor that right to go." Justice Miller also said, "The next observation is more important of the view of the arguments of counsel in the present case. It is that the distinction between citizenship of the United States and citizenship of the state is clearly recognized and established. It is quite clear, then, that there is a citizenship of the United States and a citizenship of a state, which are distinct from each other, and which depend upon different characteristics or circumstances in the individual. We think this distinction and explicit recognition in the amendment of great weight in this argument, because the next paragraph of the same section, which is one of mainly relied on by plaintiffs in errors, speaks of privileges and immunities of citizens of the United States, and does not speak of those citizens of the several states. The argument, however, in favor of the plaintiffs rests wholly on the assumption that the citizenship is the same and the privileges and immunities guaranteed by the clause are the same." Miller believed that the first right of the 14th Amendment differentiated citizen and state citizenship. The second line that forbids states from making any laws that shall abridge only applied to federal laws. The 14th Amendment rights of the butchers were not violated. This case is now closed.